Okay. Well, here we are again. This is February 22nd, and this is our second live Q&A. Thank you for joining me, Kelly.
Thank
And
you,
it's
Karen.
good.
Sorry, somebody just dinged in right when you said my name.
No problem. So, this is our last time we're going to be doing this on Zoom. I've got to learn how to handle doing this on YouTube, but there's some software stuff I haven't learned yet. So if you guys don't want to be on camera since we're recording, you're welcome to turn your camera off and you can go ahead and just put messages into the chat box, and Kelly will be monitoring that and asking me questions. And that's about all I have to say right now. But if you don't know me, my name is Karen Dominguez Cavan. I am a spiritual teacher, mentor, and healer and medium. This is what I do, and I've been doing most of my life. And this is my dear friend Kelly, who works for us, known as the Magic Dragon, and she does everything behind the scenes for Zen2 Healing. And we want her face to be up front so you all get to know her, because if you're not asking me a question, you can be asking Kelly a question. And she is quite talented herself, though she won't say she is, but she is. And she's very intuitive. And so please feel free to always ask Kelly anything. You can email us at wisdom@zen2healing.com, and Kelly or I will always answer, and we'll let you know which one of us is answering your email so you always feel comfortable who you're speaking with. So, without further ado, Kelly, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and just say hi to everybody?
Sure. Hi, Karen. Karen told you everything you need to know. No, I'm just teasing. I'm Kelly. I've known Karen for quite a few years now. I don't even remember exactly what year it is, but it's quite a few years now. Uh,
2019.
was it 19? Yeah.
Yep.
So, wow, time flies. And yeah, I've been helping. I started off as a client and then very quickly transitioned into helping behind the scenes. And I've loved all of it. It's been a journey, and we're excited to start doing these lives again. I don't know if you guys know, but Karen and I had a podcast for a little bit, so that's where some people know me from, and we do have plans to restart that in at some
Yes.
point this year. But this is kind of our prep to get back into the swing of things, and we're happy to have you guys here. So, as Karen mentioned, most people will be off video. If you do not want to be whenever you're asking a question, that's totally fine. Um, Karen, would you like people to be off video if they're not asking a question? Or are you okay if they're on
No,
video?
I'm totally fine with everybody
Okay,
being on. If they're comfortable, they can be on. I'm totally
cool.
good with it.
And as she mentioned, if you have a question and you don't want to actually verbally say it, just send it to me in chat. And if you want it to be anonymous, just send it directly to me, and I won't use your name because we also had people that sent in questions. So nobody will ever know. It's all good.
All right. Well, today is a good day to be doing this. Today is 222, which is a big manifesting day and powerful energy day. Because anytime you have numbers that go, like 222 or 3, all those numbers are more energetically powerful. And I thought it was such a coincidence that we picked today to be doing this. So I'm really looking
Especially since
forward to.
originally it was going to be last Saturday. So
Right, right. So now it changed and ended up being now. So I'm really excited about it. The energy lately has been with, in the political realm, not going politically, but in that energy around here in the US, there's been a lot of difficult energy going on. And I notice a lot of highs and lows. But for me, really focusing on being that light and bringing that light to everybody is really important to me. So I hope you guys are feeling the positivity that is coming forward, that when we focus on ourselves and do what we can do, it really helps us a lot. So I know that that's what I've been doing a lot. I've been actually meditating more. This is so funny because I'm not a big meditator, even though I'm a spiritual person. I've been meditating and really consistently hitting 15 minutes at a time and not trying to, it just happens. So it's been really great. I definitely am feeling better, sleeping better because I'm meditating, giving myself that slow down time before bed like we do for our kids, which is, when we have kids, we like, okay, an hour before bed, we're turning off the lights and we're calming down and we're getting ready. But us, we're like, we're eating, we're watching TV, we're on the phone, and we're doing this and that. And then we wonder why we can't go to sleep. Well, because we're not giving ourselves that slow down time. So I've been trying to honor that with myself and treat myself like the little child that I am. And before an hour before bed, I start staying away from my phone and my laptop and calming down and read a book or something that is more physical, not on my phone, and being able to calm myself down and take out those, energies of overwhelm and trying to do that. And that seems to be really helping. And so I wanted to hear how things are going for you, Kelly. How has your sleep been? You're not in the freezing north like I am, but it has been cold down there in
Yeah,
Texas.
it has. So I'm in Northeast Texas, and today is actually it's going to get into the 50s. So we're very excited about that. We This past week it literally got down, certainly not in negative 32, but for us it got down very cold. It was like 13, 14, 15 degrees, which is really, really cold for us. But it's been sleep wise, it's been a little it's I've been okay, but I do have a new kitten, and I'm a night owl, and he likes to wake me up at a very specific time to eat in the morning. So, uh, and it's pretty consistent no matter what time I go to bed. So, um, luckily though, he gets his zoomies out right before I go to bed, about 2 o'clock every morning, and then he's good. He sleeps for 5 hours, or he might roam around, but he doesn't really cause any noise or anything. So I get a good 5.5 hours sleep, get up, feed him, and then I go back to sleep for about an hour and a half, and then he's like, okay, now time to get up. Uh,
Hmm.
so relatively speaking, my sleep's been better than I anticipated it being, I have to admit.
Well, well, the thing I think about with you, and it makes it kind of, I think this must be the guides bringing this in for you, is that we get what we call our familiars, our pets
Hmm.
that show up exactly when we need them.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and this little pet is getting you on a cycle that you were needing at this time.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I know. Yeah, he's definitely turning my sleep cycle into somebody that's like a normal person. Where I actually get up in the morning because I work from home and I have very flexible hours, so I don't have to be up and somewhere at 8 a.m. every morning. So, I'm very fortunate in that regard. But yes, I've been wanting to tweak my sleep schedule, but it's very difficult because, I'm a creature of habit and I'm a Capricorn and it's been happening for years, so it's hard to change. But he's helping me. So
Yeah. You asked for help and they sent it.
they did indeed. He's a spicy kitten. But anyways, but to your point though about screens, I say this all the time to folks that are like, I'm having trouble sleeping, or especially with younger kids or teenagers or whatever. It's like, stop the screen time at least an hour before bed. And I mean, I know it's not always realistic. They say scientifically you're not supposed to have screen time within an hour of waking up. I know that's not always realistic. A lot of times people roll over, they want to see what's on the email, they want to check the weather, they, need to make sure nothing crazy happened overnight. I totally get it. But definitely before bedtime, like, it's really important to not have close screens. I mean, even TV, technically you should have off, but it's not quite as bad because it's not in your face, it's 5, 6, 8, 10 feet away. So, um, tablets and phones, it's really very important to get that blue light out of your face and just the activity and the energy of everything going on. And I find that people that really try to put it into practice for longer than a few days really do start sleeping better. I just saw this article, or this video of these kids. He decided he was going to get a flip phone. I think he was in eighth grade, and he was like, I'm going to do a flip phone and I'm going to convince all my friends to do it. And so they did like a 2 week experiment of these eighth graders, and one of them like lasted like 48 hours, and he was like, I need my phone back. And the others, like, they didn't have a phone at all, like no phone. And consistently all of them were like, I feel so much better. Like, I'm getting better sleep. I'm more focused in class. I'm actually outside in the sun. Like, I'm actually physically active and I just feel better. And I really don't even know if I want my phone back at this point. So it makes a big difference.
Yes, for us Gen Xers growing up with no phone, and it's like, you got up in the morning, your mom's like, here's breakfast, go outside. We went out, that's what we did. We were outside having a good time connecting with nature and our friends. And the I've seen the meme where they show somebody's front yard and all the bicycles are there. That's how you knew where your kids were, because all the
Right.
bikes were in the front yard. And in the old saying of, what time do you come home? When the street lights go on, you go home. That's the time to go home. We all knew it. And so I think learning how to get that circadian rhythm within our body to really help not only our sleep, but it really helps our spiritual connection, because we are less distracted from that core resonance and wisdom that's within our souls, that we're here to remember, because we knew it clearly on the other side. But when we come here, it's like we have all these veils and blocks and barriers between us, and society adds more as we grow older. So the spiritual time in our life, when we choose it, whatever age it is, what we're doing is trying to remove those barriers and those veils that are blocking us from that inner truth and light within us. And that is so important, to do what you can, take a walk in nature, go sit outside. I mean, if it wasn't, actually today is not too bad. I think it's only like 10 degrees right now. It's actually not too bad. Let's see. It is 28 degrees, feels like 7.
Oh, you're frozen. Is it just me? Is Karen frozen for everybody or just me?
She's frozen for me too. This is
Okay.
Suzette.
Thank you, Suzette.
Yeah,
You were
for me
frozen.
Okay.
too. For me
Okay,
too.
thank you, Kareen. You're back
Okay.
now. You're good now.
Okay. Okay. So I said, like, it's only 20, it's 28 degrees, feels like 17. So it's not, warm enough for me to sit outside, but that energy of being able to have the light, because where I'm sitting, literally, like, if I reach forward and lean a little bit, I can touch the sliding glass door. Because I can't get outside, I'm trying to do everything I can to connect with that light, connect with nature. Like, I see trees and things like that. And it's really important for my spiritual health, my mental health. I even have a light that, emanates the normal sunlight, so that my circadian rhythm is not thrown off. And it helps me go into that clarity of self. And yes, I'm sitting in front of a laptop, but I will sit here and handwrite and do things. And that's what I'm trying to get back into, is doing my handwriting channeling, because that puts me into a very connected state with self and my soul. Having a pencil or pen in hand and writing the messages and the images that come through helps me stay more connected, more grounded. And so I think it's really important for people to pay attention to those things, and how to connect with that light, to reconnect that wisdom within and bring it into our conscious mind, not just the subconscious, because I mean, it's all there in our subconscious, everything. It's the supercomputer. But when we are in the moment, like here, if some piece of information is asked of me, it may activate something in my subconscious to come forward that has been stored within my soul's memory, or downloaded through connection with, the angels and guides. And it is brought and activated from a conversation, from a song, from a connection with somebody in that moment that I need it. So I don't know what it is, but it happens. So, like, when we say, like, you and getting your kitty, it was exactly what you needed at this time, because it's going to actually do a lot of things within your life you didn't think about. You were just thinking about the kitty, but it actually is the gift to you. So that is a support for you on your journey, that's going to give you more clarity and more scheduling in a more natural pattern for yourself that you've been desiring but haven't been able to attain. So here's a cute kitty that make you a little crazy for a while to help you get there.
Yeah.
If all that makes sense in a roundabout way.
Yeah, it does. And I think I just want to ask a quick question just for anybody that may not know your full process or that is curious. So you mentioned you wanted to get back to writing while you channel. Now, is that the same as automatic writing or is it a little bit different for you?
No, for me, I think automatic writing and channeled writing, I think they mean, for me, they mean the same thing. So if you sit down and I tell people when they're dealing with their dreams, keeping a dream journal, get up in the morning, don't think about the words, hi, kitty.
Sorry, he showed up.
It's
He heard us
okay.
talking about him.
Ghost pepper.
Crazy.
Um, so being able to write when you wake up a dream, we want to get very detailed. What you want to do is be able to just write the first impressions that come out of your mind, scared, pretty, beautiful, whatever those things are for you. And then so that they get dumped out right away. And then you can come back and write more clearly of what those feelings came from so that you don't get over analytical, because when we go into that analytical side of our mind, it usually will all of a sudden disappear. You'll forget everything or you can't remember how it was. And then you start using your conscious mind to start to process and put it together where you think it should be instead of allowing it to be. So that's channeled and automatic writing for me is just allowing that information to come out. Don't worry about spelling, capitalization, punctuation, just allow it to flow. And it may be, you may start writing something about, oh, it's such a beautiful day here looking out the window. And then all of a sudden, you start writing a message that says, being here in solitude is something that is a gift to you in this moment, and it sounds like you're talking to yourself. That is a channeled message. That is an intuitive impression that is being slipped into that state of flow that we get into when we leave this part and we drop into our heart. And that's where channeled messages or automatic writing comes from, because you are not actually overthinking it. You're just allowing that intuitive energy to come through you. And you may be talking about flowers and then suddenly you're like squirrel, and you start saying, look at the squirrel doing this and that. And in that moment, those messages are coming to you that have unique meaning. So you write it down. It looks like total jibber jabber. You shut your journal or whatever you're writing on, you go away. And what I recommend is you come back either that night or the next day and read it again. And at that point, now you're reading it with your conscious mind and analytical mind, and you're starting to understand it and see the intricacy of the messages and that are coming to you through your environment. Because that squirrel and the way you wrote down what you saw the squirrel doing, the things it was doing, how it was playing, how it was being very cautious, you may actually find that that was a message to tell you to, hey, you need to not run around so much. You need to kind of get more present and look before you act. Because squirrels, they're always darting out in front of cars and whatever. But there's some, and I use squirrels because I see them across the street all the time. They'll stop and look and watch the cars go, and then they dart across. And it's so crazy. I'm like, squirrels in California never did that. They just ran, and it's like, oh God, suicide. It was horrible. But so those things, when you become very present with yourself and you're in that state of flow and allowing whatever beautiful messages come through in whatever crazy way, when you go back and you reread that, you may find that you actually are receiving answers to all kinds of things in your life that you just don't realize, that you blow off when you don't take the time to let that writing flow come through you.
Thank you for sharing.
Hmm.
You want to open it up to questions?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, anybody present that's with us currently, and I mean you guys, not like here.
You never know.
That's always present. Does anybody have a question that they would like to ask on or off camera? Just unmute and go for it or send it in the chat. Anybody, anything. All questions are allowed.
Yes, we're open. Ah, you got a cute kitty.
Thanks, Suzette. He's a little monster sometimes, but he is very cute. What energetic shifts have been happening the last week? Great question.
Well, I think there's a lot of energy from my perspective, from what I have been picking up. There's a lot of energy from the chaos that we had here in the United States in the beginning of the year in January. All of the fires and the chaos and the loss going on. And then we've been moving into quite a few airplane accidents and things, and a lot of upheaval within governmental things happening. So the energy that has been coming in, not coming in, let me change that. All the energy that has been happening energetically around us in the United States has been very intense. Excuse me, and forgive me, my eyes are closed because I have to connect with all of it so I can explain it best to you. Um, that energy around us has been kind of like, that chaos, that somebody's shaking us and shaking us. But when we take the time and meditate and even just sit and take some moments of just breath awareness with our feet on the floor and just really getting present with ourselves, you can feel the energy of Mother Earth and her resonance shifting to help us become more aware of self. And this is something that's been going on for some time, but it's really important that right now we are needing to learn how to be aware of the resonance within ourselves and understand the amount of self-reliance and self-support that we can give, because we have society, this modern age tends to get us very connected to everybody else needing to do for me or everything else needing to give to me. I'll use a simple example for myself is like doing sourdough bread. That literally is like something my great grandmother and grandmothers used to do, but I had never done it. And I'm a huge bread lover. And so I found that creating that has given me the ability. Now, over a year, I have not bought bread in the store. I make all my own bread. I make sandwich bread, I make sourdough bread, I make hot dog buns and hamburger buns, you name it, I make it. And I love it. And it feels safe that like that won't be taken from me. And I think so much of what we are experiencing energetically right now, if you think about it, is all about what people are taking from us and what we are being guided to, and what this evolution of moving into the golden age is about, being able to take care of yourself and also understanding being a part of that collective whole of consciousness, of caring, of compassion and kindness, because it is, we are very individual and unique. Not two of us, not even twins, are the same. Everybody is different and unique, and needing to understand that all of the shells of us, when they're taken away and we are just the light that is within us, that light, when all those lights are brought back together, that becomes source light. So we are one. So we are all just different aspects of the whole, learning and growing within our journeys one by one. And when we pass from the side to the other side, that helps us to share that collective wisdom that each of us have gathered. So there is no right or wrong answer. There is the awareness that we bring and the wisdom we bring back to the whole. So our soul that I talked about, where we're trying to move back all these veils, has so much information on how to manifest, on how to be happy, how to be at one and present with yourself. All that's all in here, and we keep looking outside. So I think this time for me personally is, I notice it is so much more about us letting go of all the things we through the last hundreds of years had been trying to modernize, is about really going back to being here and being present with this energy and controlling this energy, because your chaos, your stress, and your worry, that's all out here. That's all coming at you, and how you are reacting to that, that's your power. So you choosing how to deal with it is the greatest power that you have. But doing that in the way of grounding and connecting to Mother Earth, because we walk on her all the time, and really feeling that understanding of what is important for us right in this moment here, Yes, there's chaos going on, but can you do anything specifically about it in this moment? Am I alive? Am I fed? Am I clothed? Am I warm? All those basic needs we need to think about. And how can we be very present and go, okay, all right, I'm good. Right now, I'm good. And when I'm not good, when I'm checking in, I will deal with that in that moment. So the past is going to keep you from moving forward. And I think, I forget what the whole saying is, if you're in the future, that's, if you worry about the future too much, I think it's anxiety, and too much in the past, I think it's depression. I forget what it is. But anyways, being more present in this moment, being aware of your own physical energy and the energy connected to Mother Earth, that is going to help you process and kind of push off, putting yourself in that golden bubble and keeping the chaos energy of society, of things being done around us, out of your internal energy center, so that you are keeping yourself in balance, you are keeping yourself in connection with the divine and your soul's purpose in this life. I know that's a very long explanation, but it comes from so many different places, and it's so important to pay attention to your light inside, because that light of whatever you're connecting with the divine, whatever you call that for you, that is in here. It's not outside of you. It's always inside. So I hope that helps a little bit, make some sense.
Can I piggyback off of
Yes,
that a
please.
little bit? So as you were speaking, it made me think of something that I saw posted the other day that kind of plays into this a little bit, as far as when you're talking about really trying to make sure you're present with yourself. Yes, there are massive energetic shifts happening a lot all the time, honestly, some that we feel deeply and some we don't really even realize are happening at the time. Sometimes they're at this level and this level and this level, and sometimes they're literally just in our little bubble around us that are happening, or the neighbor you can feel as they walk by, or whatever that may be. And I saw this post the other day and it said, did you really have a bad day, or did you have 5 minutes that were bad that you let the rest of the day that ruined the rest of your day? And I think it's just a really good analogy, as far as like, it's really tough whenever everybody's going through, whether it's you personally or somebody around you or on a higher level, these energy shifts, whether it's a positive or maybe not so positive. It's hard to navigate that sometimes. But if you, as Karen said, come back and try to center a little bit and worry about your energetic field and say, you know what? I'm not going to let this ruin the rest of my day because I had this one 5 minute bad interaction. So let me shift my energy back to where I know it's comfortable and where I feel good about it. And then that's slowly going to ripple out. So I just think it's a little to, it's just a good reminder for myself. Clearly, I thought about it for a reason, um, to just, because we can't change some of the bigger things like that. We can change it with little ripples, and the little things that we do throughout the day or in our lives. But at the end of the day, if there's something major going on, we can add we can add to the positivity with meditation or prayer or whatever it is that you're comfortable with. But we can't, unfortunately, snap our fingers and say, boom, this is all great again, or else, I mean, the world would be a lovely, wonderful place all the time, right? Um, so yeah, just I totally agree with Karen, and a lot of times it's a matter of just pulling things back into your own energy field and clearing that and grounding that and letting it go from there.
And I'm going to have to totally piggyback off of that
Piggy,
and
piggy,
bring up
piggy.
Piggy, and I'm going to have to share this book that I have read, that I absolutely love, that I highly recommend 1,000% to you. And it's called The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. It
Ooh,
is fantastic. It is a life-changing kind of book.
this
I
is
have
not
the
paid advertisement.
That is not paid advertisement. This is me telling you that I loved it. I have another women's group that I go to. I got them all reading it. They're loving it. And they're like, oh my God, this is so great. And so I have the book and I have the audio, so I can do both. really recommend it because it is such a way to bring back power, like we were just saying, to yourself. Let those people do what they're doing, then let yourself, and it says let them, and then let me do what works for me because you deserve to keep your power with you. And this is such a wonderful book, the way she does, like literally scientific backed research, all kinds of stuff in it, way deeper than me. I'm just all woo woo and, you know, spiritual stuff. That that is really important even when we talk spirituality, because she talks a lot obviously about life and things like that, but spiritually speaking, everybody has their own experience. So that's the big thing that, you know, I have said about Zen 2 healing. And when my guides gave me that name, Zen 2 in Japanese means a way forward. And they told me that my job was to help light the way forward for everybody else, not my way, your way. So I'm lighting your way forward, helping you find your unique path. One size fits all. It's so individual. And that's why I am a teacher and a mentor, because as a teacher, I'm going to teach you the things that I've learned. But as a mentor, I'm going to help you find what resonates within you for your journey, because it's not going to be the same as mine. So I want to help support you and guide you along your path, because yours is always going to be uniquely yours. It will never be the same as anybody else's. So whatever little piece of knowledge you get from me or somebody else or Kelly or whatever that you bring together, you create your own beautiful, magnificent connection to source, to yourself, and to your journey. And that's important. So don't try to be like anybody else, because we need you just how you are. So that's my
Agreed.
little paid, non-paid promotion for this book, because I
And I
was
put
even
the name
looking.
of the book in the chat for anybody that wants to copy and paste it or look it up or
Yeah,
whatever.
definitely. You'll love it. I promise.
Um, okay. Who else has a question? Even if you've already asked one, you can ask multiple. It's totally fine. We have a relatively small group here, and I'd rather get to all of your questions before we go to the outside folks. So, um, any questions at all about anything? Doesn't matter. Here we go. Um,
Okay, I have another one.
okay, hold on for me just one,
Okay.
Suzette.
Yeah.
Is it Corinne or Corrine? I'm so sorry. Corinne?
Yeah. Great.
Corinne. Okay. Um, any messages, or happy to see you both. Thank you. Happy to see you too. Any messages or guidance for me from my guides, angels, or from my late husband?
So for me, the thing that comes up right now, just energetically around you, is I feel like there's a lot of angels coming in around you, and they're really happy that you chose to be here today, because I feel like you are needing support, and it's like they're putting their hands out and like they're showing me you being walked forward to receive more help and be open for more help. Um, in the ways of family and loved ones on the other side, I really do feel like your husband, like right now, energetically, I'm seeing images of like him behind you. So I feel like the way you're sitting right now, I feel like he's behind you and he's got himself wrapped around you, just being with you. Um, but I do feel like there's the main thing that the guides are bringing forth is you needing kind of support and like a pick me up. So helping you to understand that life is not as difficult as it is feeling, but wanting you to know that you are being supported and guided to receive and be open to ask for help, be willing to receive that help. And I feel like your heart is really coming into that space of being willing and ready to kind of like open up and say, okay, I'm ready to receive help and ask for help and allow it to come in, because wanting to be strong and um, stoic for everybody else, like you don't need anything, you're realizing you really do. and you're getting to that awareness within yourself that it's okay to ask for it. And that's what they're doing right now, is really helping support you and guiding you to that place inside your heart to ask for and be open to receive the help of the angels and the people that they bring into your life to help you.
That's a lovely, lovely message.
All right, Suzette, what was your message?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome, my dear.
So I had a question about, so if we have more than one life and we
I
have
like
a
where
loved
this is going.
and we have a loved one that has passed, so like we're supposed to be able to, or they're supposedly like, helping us once they've passed. But what if they decide to like reincarnate? Do you then lose that? Does that make sense?
Ooh, what a great question.
Look at Kelly's like, yeah.
Gosh, reminds me of the pretzel theory that we had, Karen, at one point.
Yes. Oh, yes, the pretzel theory. So when we think of a soul, we tend to, as humans, think of like soul. This is Karen, and if Karen dies, then there's no more Karen. But then when Karen comes back, now she's something else, and Karen's all gone, been erased. So no, what happens is, like the angels, they're omnipresent. And so when we cross over, we can be with, let's say, like my mom. My mom can be with me and my kids and my grandkids and my sister, everybody all at the same time. Nobody is stuck in one place or other, only can be with one person. They can be with everybody all at the same time. So if we were all in 5 different locations, my mom could come down and tap each of us on the shoulder, and we'd all be like, oh my God, did you feel it? Yes, it could all happen at the same time. Now, in the ways of the soul, through many lifetimes, like my mom, I'll use my mom as my example because she's crossed. So my mom has crossed, and my mom had lives before, many lives before, and all of her relations in those lives, there is still an aspect of her soul that is still connected with them. And the part that I know that I am connected with as Karen, as her being my mother, that aspect will remain with me. And so when I cross, I will meet that aspect of her soul that was a mother to the aspect of my soul. So that those connections will never be broken, no matter how many more lives she has or how many lives she had in the past. The aspect of who she was to me in this life will remain there and be waiting for me when I cross, as it will be for all the prior versions and further versions of her. And so you never lose that. That connection is always there. We may feel like, wow, I haven't felt my mom or heard my mom. It's not that they're not trying to say, hey, I'm right here. It is we're not listening. We have blocked, and we have had emotional stuff going on or mental stuff going on in our environment that has put a shield up to make it harder to hear them. So if you think about it, and this is one that I used with my mom when my mom died. Everybody thought it would be so easy when my mom died because I do what I do, but I was in immense amount of pain. I was crying and just, my loss. It wasn't that I didn't want her to go because she was better on the other side because she was in a bad way, but it was my personal selfish feeling of my mom was gone and I missed her. So that took me about a month or 2 before I felt her. And what it was my desperation to feel her, because I kept thinking everybody thinks it's easy for me and I can't hear her, I can't feel her. So I got on my table and I put my hands on my heart and I told her how much I missed her. And I said, please. And then I started thinking about something like her laugh or something funny. And all of a sudden I felt the light of my mother come, and I opened my eyes and I could see this light of her, and her hands went through my hands and touched my heart because I focused on my joy of her and not the loss of her. So I went into the joy of my memories. And when we tap into that, that helps bring them closer to us to understand. it brings their soul closer and almost kind of like empowers them with our joy of the memories to let them be heard or felt. Like I remember feeling this warmth and almost like a warmth and a chill all at the same time because it was her. And when I realized that after I got off the table and I was crying because I was so happy, when I got off the table, I realized the more I focused on the joy of our memories and the happy things that made me laugh and all the things we went through in a good way, it really helped strengthen those connections and brought visitations. Like I remember not too long after that, maybe a few months, I was in bed and my mother used this. I used to give her such a bad time, shower to shower powder, which was everywhere when she would put it on. And it used to make me choke. I was like, Mom, that stuff is killing me. But I was in bed and I'm laying there and I woke up because it was like somebody just wafted that shower to shower smell across my face. And I was sound asleep and I do not own that stuff. And I could smell it. And I woke up and started crying and smiling because I remembered all the times I gave her a bad time about having this powder. But that was her bringing me the smell because so she brought a visitation to me. So when you want to connect with those people, when you want to strengthen that bond that you feel like maybe you haven't noticed them around lately, go back to the beautiful memories and laugh and cry from the happiness instead of crying and blocking your heart from sadness. That's what helps imbue them with more energy to come closer and tap you on the shoulder or touch your heart or visit you in a dream, because those dreams with them that seems real, those are visitations. Those are your higher self and their higher self coming together to really connect and share. So I hope that makes sense and answers those questions.
Thank you. Yeah, it makes sense. And I guess I'm still curious though, like, so they can still possibly reincarnate and come into this life, like, even though I know she passed in this lifetime, she could do that while you're still alive, but you're saying you would still have that connection.
Yes.
Okay.
So if she came back, like you'll hear stories, and I've heard other stories of people that where they're, let's say, a loved one died. And then that person comes, somebody close to them has a baby. And in that baby suddenly is showing like so many similarities to the person that passed. And it's like, oh my gosh, well, a piece of that soul essence gets imbued into that child. Now, this I didn't know anything about until I learned much later through much meditation and all kinds of hypnosis and things that I did, that my great grandmother, the Native American, also a piece of her soul has come into me to help me in this life. But she's also one of my guides that helps me with healing and all the things that I do. But she was the one who was the Native American and she was a channel and all of that. And I never knew her. I mean, she died when her daughter, my grandma, was like 3 or 5. So never knew her, but an aspect of her came into me. And so there's things in me that are connected with her that I didn't wake up until I was like in my 40s. So those are the things that you can see people, whether they're in your family or you're actually genetic family. It could be a friend has a kid and you can see that part of, let's say, your dad or your sister that has passed is in that child, and you just feel this immense bond with them. It doesn't mean it has to be only in your family, it can be anywhere, and you connect because the souls become drawn to each other. And so the aspect of your loved one can be in another child as you live, because we think of life as linear, a beginning and an end, but life is secular and everything is happening at once. So all those things affect when they talk about clearing, your ancestral stuff. You're not just doing it from what's behind you, you're doing it what's before you, because all the versions of your aspect of your soul is all happening now. And clearing that and working with that when we take care of us also is helping other versions of our soul, because that wisdom, like I said, is within the soul, and the soul is learning how to connect with that. So you're assisting all different versions of your soul experience. So that's what I got, if that helps. You're welcome.
I would just like to, for anybody that wants to try, I don't know, should I tell them the pretzel jar theory?
Go
It's
for it.
basically what you just said, but if so, I'm so sorry. My neighbor, who has a very loud Mustang, just started his vehicle. If you guys can hear it, I apologize. His engine is like,
It's okay.
sorry. Um, so a few years ago, Karen and I were, this is one of the conversations that you just wish, like after the fact, that you would have recorded, because it like would have made an amazing podcast. Um, so we were somehow got on the topic of past lives. I don't remember how. And so we were talking about basically, Suzette, this same question that you had, because for me, it was very hard for me to conceptualize, like, well, if I have a soul and my soul goes here, and then what happens, and blah, 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 blah. And so essentially the way that we ended up breaking it down, or Karen ended up breaking down, and we kind of tag teamed it together at some point, is, I don't know if you guys know those little pretzel jars that have like the pretzel bites with like the peanut butter filled pretzels in them and stuff, like peanut butter filled little, they're like little square. And so
Pods, yeah.
it was like, okay, imagine that this jar is your entire being of who you are, your soul of who you are on the other side in the universe that's been created at whenever your soul creation happened. And then over time, our concept of time, over lifetimes of other things, little pieces of these pretzels are going into other folks, and those are your past lives. But when those iterations of that life, when the earth person passes away, those pretzels come back into the jar. So your jar is never empty. It's constantly rotating, and you constantly have this soul that's over here in the universe, but you also constantly have these little pieces of your soul that are out in other lives, with your past lives or your current life or whatever that is. So it was just a way, it took like an hour for us to get there, but like it was a very easy way for me to finally conceptualize, kind of understand like how it worked and how we understood it to be. So I don't know if that helps, but just wanted to throw that out there. So
It was a great conversation. It really was. And
pretzel,
I
the
remember
pretzel
the
jar
first
theory.
thing you said was, God, we should have recorded
Yeah,
this. And I'm
it
like,
was,
I will never remember.
yeah, it was, that's a very, very, very short version of it, but maybe that will help. You're welcome, Suzette. Maybe that will help with the visual. So yeah. And another thing about past lives, just as a little side fun note that Karen and I both believe, is that, which I hadn't really put much thought into it until this conversation of the jar theory came about. Actually, it was during that conversation that it came out, is that you could have had a past life as somebody, but that doesn't mean you experienced their entire life. So for instance, say, I'm not going to use my example of my past life, but let's say Joe Bob in 1845, and you were Joe Bob in a past life. But this little pretzel that came and happened, and that you were Joe Bob, may not have happened from him at birth. You may have only been part of Joe Bob from ages 40 to 60, and then you popped back out. And so you may not remember your entire life as Joe Bob. You may only remember certain aspects of Joe Bob, because your pretzel was like, okay, well, we got done what we needed to get done, and so now we're going to go back into the jar and re-energize and go spread our soul somewhere else. So that's just kind of what we believe. Obviously, it's all up for interpretation, but it made a lot of sense in the moment. So yeah, take that as you will.
And if you think about that, adding to that, Kelly, is that we go through these experiences in life, where you hear people about near-death experience. When you have a near-death experience, these are considered what you call exit points. So we have a choice or an opportunity to exit this life. And you'll hear people talk about it in near death, where they'll be like, yeah, I went and I saw these angels and I had this experience. And then, I decided I wanted to stay and not, go, I didn't want to pass on. I wanted to go back. So at that time, when you go back, there are other intelligence, other energies that come into you from that experience crossing over to the other side and hearing what they have to share with you. I have a friend who's a medium. She's had 3 near-death experiences, which is pretty a lot, you know. So she's had 3 different experiences where randomly things happen to her. And, if you ever get a chance to check her out, her name is Michelle Claire, and she's on YouTube and I think Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. But her stuff is so amazing what happened to her and how she got information. And the one that really gets me is like, whether you're into numerology and you kind of resonate with seeing repeating numbers. Her last near death experience was on 11/1/11. So that's a sign. She was going to be changing ways. And she's this little tiny thing and fell and, cracked her head open off of a 14-foot ladder. But she got the choice to come back, and she made the choice to come back. And it's really interesting to listen to her experience and how her life changed from that point forward. Her life is very different today than what it was at the time of her injury. And that is wisdom and information that she received and gathered on that other side, and was able to move forward in her life in a completely different way, because there's so much clarity that comes when we have that opportunity of that near death experience, or out of body experience where we were very connected with the guides and angels, and we receive that in a way that's disconnected from this human existence. So you're very much up in that higher vibrational energy and not in the worries and fears and all that we experience as humans. So in those opportunities that we have to choose to leave this life, my mom, I know of, she had 2, and she didn't choose to exit at those points, but she exited at the last one, and that was when she crossed. And those pieces of her that came through their life, like you talked about being Joe Bob only from these amount of time, and then something happened and you left and somebody else came in, or just continued, you were able to gather the wisdom that is needed. And again, all that wisdom goes back to that collective whole that we all come from. And we are each little pieces of that flame, the spark of that collective whole light that live within us, where we go out and gather all of that and bring it back. So there's so much opportunity to grow and expand. We as humans are very limited what we believe. We only think linearly beginning and ending. And it's not that way. There's so much more than that, because there is no ending to us. Our light will continue forever. It will never stop. So you have opportunities to get everything.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify also, just because a part of you may have only gone and been with Joe Bob for 15 or 20 years, that doesn't mean that some of your past lives aren't for a lifetime, because there definitely is. That doesn't mean every time you're just only little pieces are popping in and out. There's absolutely past lives where you're there from birth to death, and that is your past life.
Yep.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to clarify that so people don't think it's just constant hop, 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 hop. It was
Yeah.
just an
It's not like,
example of how things can be in more than one place at one time. So
mhm. I think it's a great question and a great way to help you understand the magnitude of the immenseness of your soul and the wisdom that you carry within yourself, to really realize that we're not necessarily connecting with something outside of us. We're really trying to just connect with that light that's in, because that light within, from source where we were created, that connects right back to that. So you don't need to go outside, you just need to go inside. So meditation, connection in, with nature, and grounding yourself and getting really present and realizing what you are feeling and experiencing in this moment, versus letting everybody else's stuff change it, because all the choices are right here. All the information is right here. It's not outside of you. And your guides, your angels, and your loved ones are there to help you and support you through each step and phase of your life.
All right. We have a few minutes left, so if anybody has a question, one more question we can fit in. It can be on anything at all, or, you know, or not. Let me see if
Or not.
let me see if I have a quick question from some of the ones
Okay.
that were submitted that maybe we can talk about quickly. Um, this is one that you can talk about fairly quickly, I think. Um, can you give us a couple examples of the ethical outlook you take within your spiritual practice?
The ethical outlook. Okay, let's see. The main thing I think I do for myself is I realize as a human, I have my own opinions and thoughts and feelings on things. And that's from Karen's perspective. But when I'm doing work, and you'll notice like I close my eyes a lot, that's kind of like I used to only do it that way with my eyes closed, because when I closed my eyes or I took off my glasses was my sign to my guides to take all of my personal Karen thoughts, feelings, emotions, and opinions and put them in a little box and set them over here so that I could give the information that that person needs for their journey, their need, their healing, and all of my opinions about it and my morals may not align with what they're doing. And instead of infusing my opinion and going, well, that's wrong, let me just tell them it's wrong. That's me. That's my ego. That's my person. So ethically, for me, it's so important to be able to gather that essence of Karen and set that aside so I can observe. Because for me, it's important that my ego hears the wisdom that somebody else is receiving, because there's always going to be a message for me somehow to teach me something. So ethically, I would say whenever you're doing anything, really take a moment to be brutally honest. Are your thoughts, feelings, opinions, and your own personal morals on the subject? Are they being infused into the message or the compassion you're trying to give, and doing it so that it makes you feel good or makes that person more like you? Are you giving to just hand it to them? And when you're done, you can turn around and walk away and have no attachment to it. That's important, because each of us are here to live our own life. And if I give you information and I say, this is what you got to do, and I keep calling you and saying, are you doing what I said? Are you doing what I said? I'm not able to live my life. And then you are going to do the exact opposite of me hounding you. So I'm going to tell you to go left and you're going to go right just so I'll shut up and you can do your thing. But my job is to bring through that guidance as clearly and concisely as possible, and to set it in front of you and allow you to take what you need, and being able to plant the seeds within your consciousness of you hearing the messages I give. And you, let's say today, you decide not to deal with it at all. And in that moment, you choose to listen to the message, and you're like, okay, but that doesn't really feel good. But I've planted the seed. So now, as you go, and let's say 2 months from then, something comes up and happens. And that idea that I planted from the guides, the information that they gave, suddenly goes bloom and it pops open in your mind. And you go, ah, that's really helpful. You may not remember it came from me, but the seed of information is needed is given to you. And that only happens when I keep me out of the way, because I have no idea about what your life truly is, because you only tell me what it is. The guides and angels know. So ethically, for me, the way to be of service to the light is to make sure that I keep all of me out of the way, to be able to share with you what they need you to know, because they know what you need in your life. And again, what I say, take what resonates, let go of what doesn't. But the seeds will be planted that you will need maybe in 6 months, in 6 years, whatever. And I don't need to worry about it. I have faith and trust in what I do to do the best that I can for you. And I trust that you will do exactly what you need for yourself, because it is your life and your soul's mission to make choices. And I cannot interfere with that. and that's important.
And I know we need to wrap it up, but I will say I think one of the probably the biggest things that I applaud you on from an ethical standpoint as a spiritual practitioner is that you always, always, always ask for permission of the higher self before connecting to make sure it's okay. And I think that's really important because there's a lot of practitioners that do not do that and they just jump on in and they try to connect, or if they are telepathic, they just get in there and start reading minds and all of that. And I think it's, it's absolutely a violation and not okay if there's not permission. So I think that's one of the biggest ethical standpoints you have that I very much appreciate. And so, yeah, anyways, just wanted to throw that out there.
I appreciate that. And to me, it is important. Like I have a friend that was very concerned about their child who was an adult, and the adult child was not telling them what they wanted to know. And she asked me if I could find out. And I said, what I can do is I can ask if I can get information to share with you. And if they say no, I can't. And she goes, okay, that's fine. So I went to the person's higher self and I asked, and they're like, it's none of her business. She needs not to get anything. I am fine. Let her know. And that's exactly what I returned was, that person is fine, but it's none of your business. And I can't tell you anymore. And I said, so basically, if you imagine like I came to your house and I knocked on the door and I said, hey, Kelly, can I come in? And you're like, yeah, I don't think so. And you shut the door. That's what your higher self has the ability to do. So it's not being rude. What it's doing is it knows the whole picture of what you are needing in that time. So you close the door to allow what needs to happen without interference. And to me, as somebody who has been physically raped and molested, to me, that is spiritual rape and that is not okay. So I always ask for permission. I always want to be honoring of every single soul. Now, if you lay on my table and I don't say, hey, can I touch you? It's you got on my table. That's pretty much without saying you gave me permission to do the work. But if you're asking me about a loved one or this or that, same thing. And I even did that in the very beginning of my ethics in that way, is I didn't even use my gifts on my kids because I didn't think it was fair. I had to be their mom being their mom. So when I screwed up, it was Karen screwing up. That's me. And I own all of my mistakes in that way because I don't think my gifts were here for me to manipulate people. My gifts are here to help people. And that's what I have to honor above all else.
Thank you for that explanation. And I completely agree. And that's why we love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think we have to wrap it up. We're
Yeah,
minutes
sounds
over.
good.
Thank you
Well,
guys
I
so
thank you
much.
all for being here. I'm so grateful to have you. This will be posted up on our YouTube tomorrow or Monday. I think it'll go up on our Monday one. And please, if you haven't signed up for our email list, go ahead and go over to our website. It's zen2healing.com and sign up for our email. And I send out email only twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, and let you know when our next event is. We'll be having another one in March. We haven't picked our date yet, but we'll let you know. And we'll go ahead and share with you things that are coming up, share stories and teachings along the way through our YouTube account and our email. So thank you all so much for spending the morning with Kelly and I. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Take care.